So good morning to everybody. This is a special class because we have to thank Sona Kalantaryan, who is a colleague who is working at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission in ISPRA, in a special section where there is the Knowledge Center on Migration of Demography. So she really an expert, and she's also a dear friend because we worked together at the European University Institute in the past. And she was so nice to accept to deliver to us a lecture on how you can get accurate information using the Eurostat the Eurostat data set. She will make an introduction before, but she also guide you into this complex things, which is using the official statistic. Sona, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alessandra, and everybody who joined today for this session. Indeed, I am Alessandra's colleague, former one, but also I must say that I graduated from University of Turin, so for me it's always pleasure to pay back for the knowledge that I acquired here with something that I learned after, and so I'm here today, like perhaps this is the 7th year that I am delivering this lecture. Every year there are changes, and I try to adjust the presentation.
I was just asking if they hear because we have frequently problems. Do you hear? Not very much. Okay, please come more in. This room has some problem. Come more in the front if you don't hear.
I will try to be more
and
loud.
You try to speak a little bit louder.
Yeah, and in a while I will switch off the video so we dedicate all the data traffic to the image that I will transmit through sharing the screen. So I will start sharing the screen. Then after, in addition to the recording that Alessandra will provide to you, Professor Venturini, I will also share with you the slides, where in some cases you have also vocal messages within the presentation that you can follow. Okay, so I start sharing the screen and stop the video so you can hear better. Okay, this presentation that I will deliver today is composed of 4 sections, mostly because the files are becoming too big, but there is also some difference in thematic. So doesn't mean that they are not, this doesn't mean that they are different sections, but rather I try to pay attention to different aspects of data exploration, and especially in the context of using Eurostat data for your research purposes. So why do we study? What we are going to cover this during this afternoon? First of all, we are going to understand how many they are, how many migrants are present in the territory of some country. Where do they come from? Because we have more than 200 countries and territories, and from each country, migrants come with certain characteristics and in different parts of time. And Alessandra perhaps explained it already in the past, these things, that they have different skills, different cultural proximity to the country of destination. And I will also try to explain to you why we care about using reliable statistics. What is the purpose of using statistics or information on migration that is coming from reliable sources. Then we will speak about the sources themselves, and in particular where the information on international statistics come and what it tells to us. Okay, here you will see voice messages that are coming from the recording of the previous pandemic period where we couldn't communicate at all. So you would be able to hear a bit more detailed explanation while we are going again through slides, and you can also perhaps if you didn't understand some things, re-listen to them, and that should be more clear. So here we see here you see the presence of migrants in EU territories And you can see that for Italy in 2017, we had 60 million, more than 60 million population, out of which they were coming 4 million from Italy, and another 6 million were coming from a foreign country. And also we can see the percentage of individuals that are coming from, they are coming from outside Italy, and it's 10%. You can see that also it is lower than in many other, especially Western European countries. In Belgium, this figure reaches 16-17%, and similarly to Ireland, to Germany. It is less in, we see a lower figure in Eastern European countries, but this is because Eastern European countries until recently have been origin for migrant rather destination. The situation has dramatically changed in the last maybe 5-6 years, and especially due to the war in Ukraine, where Eastern European countries received huge flow of Ukrainian refugees. Yeah, I mean, if you look here also that in the next slide there were hints. In Luxembourg, we have 45% of population, where actually the Eurostat's office is 45% of population are foreign born. Luxembourg is a very small state, as we all know, but surprisingly, 45% are coming from another country. And this is not surprising because Luxembourg, in addition to being a very small country, it has higher salaries than neighborhood countries, and many people from, like for example, from Belgium, from France, from Netherlands, are coming to live and work there, which is very similar to the pattern we can observe in Switzerland's Italian-speaking provinces or French-speaking provinces for French population. And here also it is important to mention that Luxembourg hosts various international institutions which requires the staff to come from very different countries. For example, European Investment Bank, Eurostat, but also many financial institutions are hosted by Luxembourg. There is also, for example, in Estonia and Latvia are interesting case because here too you would see Estonia and Latvia. In this row, yeah, quite big population of foreign born, but here we have to take into account that these countries have developed, perhaps in anticipation of the complicated situation that we are facing now, they didn't give the citizenship of the country of destination, but rather these are people of Russian origin or Soviet territory origin that are residing in the country, but they don't have citizens' rights. Okay, so this is all to say that while we look at the figures, we should try to understand what is beyond the figures rather than blindly interpret. Okay, so also if you think in Luxembourg, this 45% of foreign-born population are likely to have a very high skill profile. They are mostly highly educated, coming from European member states. Okay, and this is the case. You see, most of them, they are coming 34.7% in Luxembourg line. If you see, they are coming from another European countries. Okay, and only small part comes from non-European countries. Okay, here I gave some explanation to the anomalies we observe across countries. And also, it is important to keep in mind few concepts while speaking and interpreting international migration data. First of all, when we look at in official statistics, we mostly capture legal migration. I mean, illegal is not the best concept. Perhaps I should fix in the presentation. It's rather irregular migration because humans cannot be legal. They are simply break some rules and they migrate irregularly. So most of the cases, with some exception, the official statistics is able to capture only those who are legally present in the country. This creates also a lot of challenges for both policymakers and local authorities, because this means that there are because the distribution of irregular migrants does not necessarily follows the patterns that are present for regular migration. We know, for example, that irregular migrants reside in places where the economy itself has a large part of shadow economy where they can be employed and invisible. Okay. Then we have to distinguish between stock and flow concepts. This is a very important thing. When we speak about stock of migrants, we speak about a concrete point in time. For example, the number of foreign born in Italy on 1st of January 2022. This is stock. So you take at some point of time number that is present there. When we speak about flow, the time concept is different. We take two periods of time between 1st of January and 31st of December and try to understand, for instance, how many new migrants came to the country over that period. Or, for example, how many migrants left the country over that period. Okay. It can be also that you look at other criteria, for example, how many refugees came, not in general migrants. So it is important to keep in mind two things. When you are confused between stock and flow, you have to take into account that stock is at concrete point in time. The flow is between 2 points of time. And it's like similar, even if we are in very much discouraged in commission to speak about human beings or migration with water concepts such as flow, but this is the best that describes it. We are considered to have a negative, don't put a negative association between human migration and flood and like a wave, etc. But the concept, the statistical concept are fits perfectly this. So then we have to take into account the country of birth and citizenship. And this is also something very important because different statistical sources have different concepts and the reasons are both objectives and subjective. Because, for example, for some situations, it is important to speak about country of birth because it's unique. You are born once and you are having that one citizenship. I am born in Armenia, and even if one day I acquire European citizenship, maybe three of them, I will forever be born in Armenia. So this is a very important way of capturing a person only once. Then we can have in some cases citizenship criteria, which is also very important because from the moment that we give citizenship to a person, um, they are supposed to be part of the equal rights having citizen of the country, and they are supposed to perform similarly in the labor market because they have the same rights, for instance, or have similar type of educational attainment because they have the same access. We know that this is not very much the case, but both concepts has their valid reasons to be there. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever possible, we give preference to country of birth because it's unique. It doesn't change, okay? In some cases, you have the country of previous residence, and this creates even more confusion in the statistics because most probably I'm still a resident registered in Armenia, even if I don't live there for 15 years. I am resident most probably in some records in Czech Republic where I studied, not clear if they canceled me, and I am definitely resident in Italy where I live, okay? So it is also important to keep in mind where this information is coming from, okay? Because these are huge masses of information, and unless that is properly managed, we will have so many distortions and biases in our data, and we have to understand which kind of data is affected with what kind of biases or what kind of disadvantages or advantages it has. I would now mention three sources and then add another one for your reflection, and because we are living in a world that's highly affected by the technological progress we are living through. So first of all, the census information. Most probably you at least once in your life participated in a census. Okay, this is the general counting of all population with
Let
a
me
specific
ask them if anybody has
Uh-huh.
filled the form. Did anybody fill the form for the census? I did once. You did? Nobody else? Yes, you did. In general, the family is doing, not the single person. Probably somebody
Yeah.
from your family has feel it. Oh,
I do.
yeah, yes.
Yeah. So actually, can I continue, Alessandra?
Yes, continue, continue.
Yeah, actually, census captures the whole population in the in the most comprehensive way when we are speaking about its basic characteristics: age structure, education, residence, housing conditions, for example, no, where they moved compared to the previous census or previous year. Okay, because this is our set of questions that are asked. Actually, my first job in my life was about census. I did a census. I went from one flat to another to learn. Also, that was we were encouraged by our professor of sociology to take part. We were paid little, but that was a very much informative experience. So we know how this information is gathered. We know also that, for example, the problem of census data can be that not only it is very expensive because it requires a lot of human resources. Now, often it is online. You are obliged to do it, but there is a form you are supposed to fill. Before we were going and writing down that all with pencil and paper. That means it is not only expensive, but also when we enter an apartment and ask questions about family composition, etc., we do not ask any documents. You have to believe what person is saying. That might be the case when they are hiding irregular migrants. They are absolutely free not to report that person's presence in the apartment. Okay. Or, for example, they are not saying the truth about their labor status because they are afraid that they will be identified and they are working illegally, etc., etc. Many things. However, it gives you most comprehensive picture about population. Then the second source of information is administrative data. And this administrative data for migration can be very useful in many ways. Administrative data can include, for example, the information that is coming from commune. Uh, and there you have information with what is the origin of the person. So you can see the distribution of population across communes. Uh, you can also have information, for example, from fiscal authorities or from pension fund, where you also have information of persons' characteristics in terms of country of birth. What is interesting and important in the administrative data, that usually you have a key, a unique identifier. For example, in Italy, it's codice fiscale. And in theory, you can connect all this information. For example, you can connect information on labor market status with the frequency of using healthcare services. Okay, so for instance, to see that if they are deprived foreigners from uh, access to healthcare, or they are maybe overusing, or many other things. Okay, so as long as you have administrative data where it reports the country of birth or citizenship, it is an important source for us to keep in mind. Finally, the survey, which is an extremely important source of information. And the advantage of survey is that they are relatively less expensive, and they are richer in terms of information you can be asking. For example, a classic example is labor force survey, where you have hundreds of questions about labor market status, sector of employment, occupation, education, earnings, type of contract they have, etc., etc. The problem here is that, again, it is expensive and it has a small sample. Usually 1% of population, representative sample, is included in that survey. Okay, that means that if your migrant population is not big, you are likely not to have enough information to have a clear picture about their, for example, labor market participation, etc. And even if at the country level you might have a picture, if the population of migrants is not big, you are likely not to have a clear picture in the at regional level. For example, we know that also natives have different labor market outcome between south and north of Italy. So these type of differences might be even more present when we speak about migrants, which are more vulnerable in the labor market. So then two more, also last 2 points to mention is that you have to, I think that this you should know already, but you have to distinguish between emigration and immigration, those who enter the country and those who leave the country, or if we speak about internal migration, the region, okay, within the country. And these are, they can be both flow and stock. These are the kind of flow flow and stock measures, because you can speak about immigration to the country over some period of time, and at some concrete point of time, how many persons are absent from the country or present from another country. Another important thing, when especially we speak about comparability between countries, is coming from the way migration is defined, because the classic way of speaking about the immigrant is a person who resides in the territory for more than 1 year, okay? But this concept changes significantly across countries, because, for example, in Canada, they are giving this migrant status only to those who permanently move to Canada, and because they have a particular scheme that allows them to do it. In European countries, we don't have any scheme that allows a person permanently to move to a country. Or, for example, in Germany, if we go through the concept of labor migration or economic migration, you would also see they are very different pictures, because the way you capture economic migrants can also be different, because the type of visa you are giving, because even a student can come and still work, or a family unifier can come and work. But then if you end up counting only those who come with labor or remunerated activities, the figure will be distorted. I would suggest you all who are interested in going a bit more in details to look in the suggested reading at the below of the slides, but we won't have time here to go through all the details. Just I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that it's not easy. It's not. You should always have a suspicious towards what you are interpreting. Okay, never take anything that you see in terms of just a number without understanding what is beyond. So I will show you how to do it in case of Eurostat data, but overall, any figure you see, you have to make sure you understand where it comes from and what can be the biases it might have. Okay, what are the international
So, Sona,
statistics?
if you want, you can also cite the UK, in which the idea
Yeah.
of migrant is very different because they have British citizens from former colonies
Yeah.
that are not considered migrant, and they have European migrant there, and in fact they count the passenger list, so they don't count the residency or citizenship because they have the British citizens.
Yes, in some countries, the way to look at it is also border crossings. You know, they look
Exactly.
at the number of border crossings over the year and the balance of that. So that's why I tell it's better if you read a bit, so that before starting your exercise embarking, because it would be easier to avoid some mistakes than to fix them. Okay. So what kind of information we expect to get the basic set from the international migration statistics? Now, this is usually place of birth. We want to know how different origin country representatives integrate in our society. Then we want to know their origin in terms of nationality. For example, did they acquire citizenship or not? Okay. Then we want to know where they were residing previously. For example, I am Armenian citizen and I live in Italy. I don't have Italian citizenship, but if you look my previous residence, then it would be Belgium. Okay, so I came to Italy from Belgium the second time. The first time I came from Czech Republic. So it's also important sometimes to understand what is the path of migrants, how they reach some destination, because we know that, for instance, our European in the European Commission, a high priority is a 2023, for example, is European Year of Skills, and one of the ideas there is also to not only to attract but also to retain talents in European Union, which is often a very difficult thing, because people are attracted to other destinations. So it's important where they came from, but also where they lead. Maybe I study in Italy, but then I go to to work in France because I am paid better, etc., etc. So it's just not the origin and destination, but also the intermediate stops that migrants are making in their migration career. So then we are interested where they are, the destination country. Duration at the country of residence. We are, for example, when we are looking at labor market integration, we are interested not only in the outcome, like the salary they receive, or the type of job they are doing, or the labor market status, they are employed, unemployed, part-time employed, discouraged, inactive, etc., etc. But also how long they stayed before, because most probably the duration of residence is definitely affecting your ability to find your place in the destination labor market. So, and then we are interested in age, because we are the demographic profile of population, similar to also native population, is important factor to understand not only their contribution to the society, but also needs. Younger individuals are more likely to have demand for education, in middle age, contribution to labor market, and at elder stage, they are more likely to be net receivers of pension funds or healthcare services. Okay, we are very much interested in their education or skill profile, because that is their human capital with which they are. Mostly, this is the only one they have when they move to another country, and that's why, and it's key to integration in the destination. And finally, we are interested in the labor market. These are the basic things. These are the basic set of information we are interested in. So, as I told already a bit about the sources of information, I will not spend much time here. But yeah, for example, in Italy, most of information on foreigners that is coming from residence permits comes from Ministry of Interior Affairs, yeah, from the police. Those students who are foreigners very well know the infinite queues in Questura in Turin. But not always the case. For example, I'm foreigner. I reside in the territory of Italy. I am a bit particular case, yet it's important to keep in mind. For example, because I work for an international organization, I have a special status, which is kind of rather diplomatic one, which means that my documents are issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So, and I'm not the only one. Everybody who works in an international organization, foreigners, have this document, and we are not entering the police record. For example, all the employees from Food and Agriculture Organization that had head office in Rome, IFAD, I don't know, UNICEF offices, IOM, International Organization of Migration offices, International Training Center of ILO that is located in Turin. They are all having a special status, so they are present, they are foreigners in Italian territory, but they are not having permit, a classic one. So let's say that these all type of different informations are also need to be taken into account, that you when you speak about different sources, would they really account? Definitely, I am not accounted for the data given by permits, okay? Because I have been also stopped in the street once in my life that they checked, they thought, you don't have any document we can, in our system, okay? So, but I'm not irregular. So, we spoke previously on advantages and disadvantages of census data and various survey data. Now the one has a bigger coverage but less frequent, while surveys are more frequent, like labor force surveys is quarterly, but they are just representative 1% of population, and there are disadvantages and advantages coming from these two things. Overall, you cannot have it all. You have to look at your needs, think well about project you are doing and the type of data that might be useful to you, and also to acknowledge the shortcomings of your data when you do your research. Okay, one of the most important things is to speak about what is the shortcomings from your research and the data that you use. Okay, so there are different types of information available for international statistics on migration, and here are only few. I'm not obviously going to go through all of them, but Eurostat, listed one, is one of them. The Dynamic Data Hub is actually the hub of European Commission, where you can visualize different information that is coming from both Eurostat and other international sources. OECD provides an important data set on migration. The World Bank provides the bilateral migration matrix, which is, I think, every 5 years, and then they have an intermediate estimate. Then there are UNESCO International Tertiary Students Database, the data sets by public use microdata, which you can use, request access to very many microdata, but I think that would remain beyond this the scope of this course, just for information if you are curious to go and see. Okay, here we finish this first set.
Data,
Yes?
Sona, do you want to make some comment on the fact that these are, you see, the official data and so on, but given the phenomenon is so complex, especially the one on irregular migration is so complex, they now try to use other type of information, which
Yes.
are like taken
Yes,
from.
I forgot. I forgot that. Yeah, I was supposed to
No,
mention
but
it.
just to
Thank you.
mention, but
Yes.
however, these are not as reliable as the other one. Could you make a comment?
Yes.
Because I know that you have worked on this.
Yes, actually, yes, we are with some caution, of course, because we still think that in official statistics is reliable source of the most reliable source of information. We acknowledge also that it has some huge disadvantages of being late. Usually, do you have official statistics after a year or two of the event? So you would have the number of foreigners in Italy you by Eurostat in after 2 years, too late, for instance. No,
Policy
what?
implementation.
Yeah, I mean, you want to design a policy, and the best data you have is of 2 years ago. Well, there is a war going on the eastern margins of European Union, and we receive a lot of refugees. One of the ways that is used, and we use it intensively, Facebook data, in particular the innovative data, let's say sources. It's not only Facebook, but for example, we can see the number of active users of Facebook in a country of particular language carriers. For example, we can see how the number of Ukrainian Facebook users have changed since February 2022. And we even know how they move these migrants from one country to another. So the collaboration with Facebook allows this to do it, and we can live every 2 weeks monitor the situation. Okay, so these are the new margins of the research on migration, but unavoidably growing, and it's about time to find that methodology that is more precise and more informative, but definitely it's more timely. There is a disadvantage that I need to mention here, because we cannot be over optimistic about this method without mentioning the drawback. And the drawback is that we don't know how Facebook estimates that stock of migrants, because what we have only is not the raw information. Please don't understand me wrongly. We don't have any individual information, okay? But we have information on the stock of migrants that is changing, so we can observe the trends. But there is a black box for us how Facebook calculates that, because it's not simple number of Facebook users. They treat it somehow. And first of all, we don't have very clear idea how they treat it. Second, if they change the algorithm, we cannot compare the information between two different points of time. But yeah, we actively use it. We used it also with Venezuela crisis to understand the number of Venezuelans coming to Spain, and the statistics that was coming from Spain came after 1 year, from Eurostat after 2 years, while it turns out that when the official statistics came, our estimates of Venezuelans in Spain was exactly between these two estimates. So we were extremely precise, but we didn't know at the moment that we were estimating that we were so good in predicting the figure. But yeah, this is something to keep in mind.
Yes,
And the source of
reliability against the time, no?
yes, because
The other are
we have
very reliable, but they're very late.
but very late, yeah, very late. Yes,
The
okay, so
administrative data are the same. They're always
yes,
late when the phenomena is finished. And this is the problem, I think, of the debate in also the newspaper. The newspaper take small information because sometimes not accurate, because the information that they need will come up on the official statistics after a year. So it's fine for us. We study the phenomenon, so we can wait 1 year to make a comment, but the newspaper, they can't. So not to excuse the limited reliability of the newspaper article, but just to justify, they try to get the news, but the news is not
old.
for.
News is old. The data for news is old,
Yes,
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, what are the, okay, we will concentrate on Eurostat data, and then by yourself you can go explore other sources of information. But the Eurostat data on migration and asylum is providing different type of information. Ready tables, for example, we saw one in the first part of the presentation, reports, publication, and online materials, but also they have, following the demand by users, they have produced a series of explanatory notes. I will share it together with the presentation, so you can have a look on definitions, etc. They are using providing microdata, labor force survey, for example, information with over 1 million of observations. This is an information that is provided upon request, institutional one, an individual cannot get it, so you have to have a proposal with which you go. Eurostat, after lengthy procedures, give you access to the data, but this is beyond our course, just to let you know. And finally, customized table. So they provide statistics provided by official, like national statistics, international organization, and they are useful to see the macro level dynamics. In some cases, we have sub-regional data, but most of the data we are interested in this course is about at country level, also because useful for your exercise. I want to say that Eurostat is not only about migration, it's about every aspect of our life and economy, while we will be looking only at this moment on migration. So I encourage you to go to watch, especially for the economists, or they can go and look at the national accounts and other types of information, but also those who are interested in healthcare. There is a lot of indicators on health, on many aspects. So so this is the typical ready table. We already saw it. You can explore it by yourself. Everywhere where is needed, I provide a link. You can go and by yourself check. And this is the usual information set that you see in your screen when you open Eurostat database. I will now close the presentation or put it down, and we will go to online just to reach the data set, to show you a couple of things, and we will do a break. Then after, you can check it also in the PowerPoint presentation, but I want it to be a bit more interactive than just you looking at them at the screen. So when you go to Google and you just put Eurostat, it pops up. I must say that this year, unfortunately, Eurostat went through a major revision of how they expose its data. You see, they are asking to fill a survey. Perhaps number of complainers is too big, because they try to make it more friendly, but this was not the case at all. Okay, so it became even more complex for a simple user. Okay, So we say that the perfect is the enemy of good. It was good enough, but they tried to improve it, and apparently it became more complex, I think. So you have population, and so you have the navigation tree of different topics and different information. For example, you see you have industry, agriculture, international trade, transport, environment. You have the set of EU policies, you have different cross-cutting topics, for example, migrant integration or quality of employment, etc., etc., youth, skill-related statistics, etc., etc. So what we are going to do is we are interested in population and social condition section, and in particular on migration. Okay, so here, so the major set of information is on international migration, and then about asylum and managed migration. Okay, and we are going to use all three of them at three different exercises. I will just tell you that the last thing perhaps that is not kind of doing together online. Wait a second. So here in the Eurostat, in the link that I indicated, you can find also detailed information on how to use the help, how to create login, etc., etc., many aspects. Okay, so that whenever you have a question, you go and explore a bit before, first of all, before starting and before coming back to me or Professor Venturini with a question. So
they put this exactly because we were exhausted. We suggest have to have online
I'm not sure
help.
it's very helpful. I am not sure it is extremely helpful, but it gives some. You put your effort and they put some information there too. So I'm not sure that it is written for a general user, because it seems to me still very complex and a bit confusing. But I mean, after doing it together, you will understand better the logic beyond, and you would be able to explore. This is the purpose of this exercise. Okay, so I am going to the third part, which is the main part of this exercise we are going to do together. Wait a second, it's a bit heavy. And in particular, we are going to explore today 3-4 exercises we will do together. The basic question you might ask yourself when you are doing your exercise, the country profiles that you are preparing as an assignment. For instance, you might be interested to know number of immigrants, okay, to Italy, and then maybe you are comparing with other countries. This is an example, but then you can modify as you learn how to do this. You would be able to do also in more details. In Belgium, by age, sex, and country of birth. Okay, I'm writing down for me because then country of birth, and we are concentrating on Moroccans and Ukrainians. Okay, in 2021, and even if I am not sure 2021 is there, but 2020 will be for sure. This is just a reference back to the fact that not always we have timely statistics. Okay, we are in 2023 and we still lack 2021. Okay, now I go to internet to the Eurostat website. Wait a second. A bit slow, yeah. I must say that it is slow, but maybe it's better because then we can slowly going through things. In the presentation that you will have a detailed. No, we don't want to participate. You will have a detailed description and screenshots of pages I go to. I will share with you also the task and the solution, how it should look at the end. But the way to go is that you are going to migration and international migration. And here we are interested in number of migrants. So we go to immigration. I'm going slowly in case somebody is either taking notes or trying to repeat. And we are interested by number of now a number of immigrants to Italy, Spain, and Belgium, also by country of birth, no? Okay, this will be this one. Okay, it's a bit difficult to understand which data says what, but you will have information button here. I don't want to push so it doesn't take me anywhere. And also metadata, which is a detailed description of where the data comes from, the detailed description of how it is distributed, what kind of components it contains. Always read this before embarking into tabulations or visualizing it. So we go to country of birth. Okay. So okay. And here we have more complex picture than we used to have in previous years. Just to
Yes.
tell you about the main component. Okay, you have the name of the data set here at the very bottom. Okay. You have a unique kind of abbreviation that corresponds to this data, okay? Then after you can search with this, because this is very important to remember, write down, because with this you would be able to recover which data set you were using. Then you have information about the data set similar to the one you had in the tree in the button. You have an explanatory note and you have a button, add to my dataset. And this is also important information because actually you can create an account, and I encourage everybody to do that, everybody who gonna use Eurostat dataset. You go to sign in button, and in my case, it would be logging in with my work credential. For you, it will require a bit different path, but it is possible to do. So you create an account, and once you do your work, you can save it there. You can save these data sets among your data sets. So you would not need every time to go in details to search for it. Then you have the download button that we will do it. So I will not go through small things because then will be more confusing. Just let's go for simple exercise, then we can increase the complexity. You have the geopolitical entity, the country. These are the European member states or non-European member states, but this is the main country, okay? So we are looking in immigration in Italy, Spain, and Belgium. Okay, here you have this plus button. You go to that. You unselect everything, uncheck everything. Then you add Italy. It will pop up. You have Spain and Belgium. Okay. It takes time, but yeah, I hope this is also useful for you to manage to follow. So I'm not very fast. So now it says you have 3 values to display out of 34 because there were 34 countries, if you remember, available. These are the European member states, but you also, after European countries, you have also Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland, UK, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia, okay, which is like an accession countries. In some datasets, you have also Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, depends. Okay, save and go. So we picked up the 3 countries that we are interested in Europe. Now we were interested in migrants coming from Morocco and Ukraine. Okay, so we go to country of birth or region of birth. So there are also aggregates, non-EU countries outside, no EU country except the country that you are talking about, like all European countries except Italy, or all countries outside Europe. But we are interested in unchecking everything, so we are sure what we do, and then selecting Morocco and Ukraine. Okay. So then we were thinking to use the 2021. As you see, there isn't. So we can uncheck all and take the most recent data, 2020, or maybe I would suggest taking 2019, because in this case, it's not affected by pandemic. Okay, so maybe a more interesting case than pandemic, when we know that migration was stopped to much extent. Okay. Okay. It will take a moment also to update that, because before we could select everything at the same point of time and then refresh. Now for each variable it asks refreshing. Let's check. Okay, we have three values for the country of destination. We have one value for time, and we have one value for country of birth, that is Ukraine and Morocco. You see? Okay. So we can bring this country of birth as a column instead of, because we have time, which is one observation only, we can easily bring it here. Okay, so what we see is that in 2019, the number of Ukrainians that came to Belgium were 739. Okay, that established for more than 1 year there, and 10 times more Moroccans. In Spain, they were 8,278 compared to 74,827 Moroccans, and in Italy, 2,000 versus 20,000. Yeah, we can roughly see that in all these countries, the number of arriving Moroccans was 10 times higher than Ukrainians. Okay. We might want also, for example, add another country, or add the total. This is possible to do at any point of time. You do like this, and you
Sorry,
also add
Sona,
total.
Sona, just a question. These are stock or flow?
This is flow.
In fact, because I wanted to
Yeah,
stress
this is
it's
flow.
immigration in 1 year. So how
In
many
1 year,
people
number of new
arrived?
people who came. Yes. Patients, yeah. And then also let's check, because we were speaking about by age, sex, and also by age definition by end of year. So there are two ways: by in the middle of the year, at end of year. We are not very much interested to this. This is details. It doesn't make much difference to us. But for example, we could be interested how many person from for example, from age of 15 to 19 came to the countries, no? Instead of total. We save it and it updates the figure. It's so slow, but it's slow everywhere, even when I do it from work, from the same server. So what we have is that it is written here now that we have from by age class from 15 to 19. So these are the only ones that came to Ukraine, from Ukraine and Morocco to these three countries. We have the totals, all migrants from age 15 to 19 who came to Belgium, Spain, and Italy, out of which 74 were Ukrainians, 371 was from Morocco. Okay. We can also, for example, add another age group. For instance, it's just you play as you want. From, for example, we want from 15 to 64, or for example, from 20 to 24 and 25 to 29, two young age groups, no? And what we can do is actually, we can bring it to the table too, because otherwise it would be not very visible. So wait a second. So overall, it becomes more heavy, the whole thing. So as we choose more than one category, we can also bring it here. So we will have in column another column which is distinguishing for two age groups. So you would have two lines for Belgium, two lines for Spain, two lines for Italy, and then you can play infinitely, adding, subtracting column. As long as you understood how approximately it works, you can do it. Okay. So now the important part. Okay, you have reached the data set look you want, and I encourage you to make it before to bring it to the look you want before downloading it. I can tell you that you can also play, for example, by bringing it up and down, changing the, for example, the sequence of columns, or you can also, you see here, sort from highest to lowest, any column you want. Okay, or maybe you want to sort the countries alphabetically or the reverse of alphabetical, so you can do it too. So there are ways to a bit fine tune it. And then the most important thing, what I do, first of all, as I told, if you have an account, you can save it. But once you did this job, there are two things still you need to do. You need to download the data set, and here is the button, and it gives you so many options. You have to stick to the wait a second, go to the data and download. Okay, I will repeat it so you see it again. It's very small data set, but look how much time it takes to download.
That's the reason that you suggested to have an account, no?
No, account is for sure. Create an account. It will take you 5 minutes, but then you would be able to save everything. Let's see what we downloaded. In the downloaded file, you have a summary of what you have downloaded. Actually, what it said that you downloaded from Eurostat. You downloaded the immigration by age group, sex, and country of birth. This is the code of the variable that you used, the code of the data set you used. And you have, in terms of its structure, here you see in terms of age, you have two groups of age. The age definition and age reached during the year. Country of region of birth are the total, Ukraine and Morocco. You have then also the unit. Is it in kilos? No, you measure in numbers, no? But it can be also in thousands. In some big data set about countries, it can be also in terms of um, numbers, in terms of thousands or millions in terms of population. So then you have sex total. We could also look at men and women. We can do it. And then the geopolitical entity was Belgium, Spain, and Italy. And the time was 2019. So you have all the attributes and that characteristic you had in your data set. And here is the data set. Okay. So now this is, okay, you download, but maybe you forget later where you downloaded. So in order to download, I just show you once more. So you go here, go to the, don't touch any of those because they all produce some weird options. You go to data page, no, you go to here and you download, you just download, okay? You can also download with different formats, but as you need only Excel now, don't mess up with different stuff. Just download, okay? And it should be okay. Now I show also, for example, how to add the gender dimension, the sex, to the tabulation, and I think we have it complete this one. With the next one, it will be, look how much it takes. Yeah, it downloaded. Okay. One last thing you have to remember is the bookmark. You create here. There is a share button. We are all aware from different websites. These are like kind of you can't miss it. It's here. You can copy the link, and it will always. And you can pass it in some Word file, empty Word file that you save with links, etc. And you will be always going here. It will open exact that view that you created already. Okay, so you don't need to do it every time. Okay, so I think that was the most difficult one, the first exercise to start doing. Then the second one, mm, was in the, wait a second, in the, we have,
Sona,
in addition to
you
all those same,
the
huh?
last passage because I'm always lost. I'm able to make the table on the web. When I
Uh-huh.
download and so on, I always get lost. So
Yes,
sometime I make a
that's
screenshot
why,
and redo
that's why
and
I
redo.
suggest always to create an account where you can save it. You can actually save it there. And second, to save at least somewhere the bookmark, which the link to that customized table. So now let's do all the same thing, but based on country of citizenship rather than country of birth. Okay, so easy. Actually, the data set is this one, the first one, country of citizenship. We did it country of birth, Alessandra.
Yes.
Let me say, wait a second. Country of birth. CTB is country of birth. So now country of citizenship. This is the one. Immigration by sex, age, and citizenship. So here as well, you first read the metadata. You have to understand what you are dealing with, and then you can have the courage to do the data set. There is one more secret I will tell you, but in a moment. So here again, geopolitical entity. We know we choose Belgium, um, Spain, and Italy. You can also check like this, Italy. Okay. Then you have. Oh my God, it takes so much. Then we go to time. We were supposed to take 2021, but it's not there. Let's go to 2019, pre-pandemic. Then we can, non è possibile. Before you could choose all the components and then you would refresh it and that would all appear together. But now, after this improvement, so we also go to country of citizenship, we uncheck all and we find Ukraine, and Morocco. Okay, so we, oh my God. Then we bring the citizenship, for example, to the column because we have only one country here. We can do it easily. And then we can see in Belgium the number of uh, uh, Ukrainian citizens were this much or less very similar picture what we see in terms of country of birth, because yeah, most probably the Ukrainians who came were born in Ukraine and the Moroccans who came were born in Morocco. Okay, but let's say that there are some differences because not everybody who have Ukrainian citizenship are born in Ukraine, okay? Because maybe a lot of people are born in pre-Soviet collapse period and they were big population movement across countries. So a lot of people who are born in Ukraine maybe have Armenian, Azeri, Kazakh citizenship and vice versa. Okay, so what we need to do, we remember already that first of all, we would need to save it once we have an account. Then we can save the bookmark. I think young students are very well aware of this sign, the division sign, no? You can copy the link and again, write it, for example, your assignments, whatever, the citizenship, etc., and then save the file, save it, name it somehow what you are saving. And then you can also share it with your email to send it to yourself for some reason, in case you want to tweet it or on Facebook. Okay, so this is sharing and then downloading. Okay, you download. So if you, I would suggest those who are in this course, when they go home, try to do at least one of those, and you will see that it's not difficult at all. Once you learn it, it's like bicycle, then you will go. So here is the data set. You have the summary as in the previous case, when you download it, the data updated, etc. And then the structure, what you have the annual data for Ukrainian and Moroccan citizens, total age, all age groups together. Then you have the geopolitical entity, the European countries were the three. And the time for which you did it is 2019. Okay? So far, so good. Major questions, problems, Alessandra, can you ask them?
Did you find any problem? Did you able to follow? No. At least the first row, because you see, it's always the first row that arrive with the computer and so on to follow. I don't know in the back if everything was so clear. Also because the acoustic of the room is not fantastic. They should see everything on the screen, but they say that everything is okay.
Okay,
They
okay.
are fantastic.
If too fast, let me know. Okay, let's go to another exercise, even more exciting, I think, because here we will look on other types of
Excited for us because we are passionate for the field. I don't know for the student if they are excited.
They want to pass the exam, so they should be passionate too. I will just show where is the, I will also do with you the first residence permit, because immigration often does not capture the whole migration toward the country, because it is only those people who came and stay more than for 1 year. I remember that I came to Italy the first time and I stayed 9 months and definitely didn't enter in immigration statistics flows because I didn't stay for 1 year, but I got a student permit and I came to Italy. So visa. So I am instead registered as first residence permit receiver. So let's see how many first residence permits was issued in Italy and Belgium, but any other country you can take, by reason, and now we will say by reason and citizenship. Okay, so for this, if I'm not wrong, we go here. Okay, this is about managed migration. Let's close this part. We go to managed migration. Managed because we gave residence permits, people came. And then we go to residence permit. This all is in your slides. Then we go residence permits by length, validity, or citizenship, or residence permits by reason, age, sex, etc. So we can go to almost any of them. Wait a second, just to check the one that would require less effort. This one, because it has more options. First residence permit by reason, age, sex, and citizenship. Perfect. So we go here.
You have the distinction, sorry, you have the distinction between first permit or stock, or the other is the stock. This is first permit, so that's mean flow.
Yeah, it's also kind of a flow measure because it does not necessarily mean that they will stay. Yeah. So you have a geopolitical entity that is the European country, and we were interested in Belgium and Italy. I'm wondering if, okay, you see, I discovered. Now I can go from one field to another, so we don't need to wait. Oh, good. I learned also something. Because this is new, this is couple of months they introduced this new way of showing it. So, but the country of citizenship, we don't need every time to go back. So here we choose, which was, for example, we choose, again, let's be consistent, Ukraine, and Morocco, just to make sure the exercise is always about those countries. And this is something you would need to do, no? When you will do your exam, the term paper, you will always focus on the same country of origin or same country of destination. Then we choose reason, and here I must give a bit of explanation. So the permits are given for many different reasons, but In European statistical office, they distinguish between mostly 3-4 major categories. These are family reasons, education reasons, and employment reasons, and others. These other include also asylum applications, etc. All these things that do not belong to family, education, and employment. So let's say other reasons is a residual category. Different countries have different set of permits they give, and somehow Eurostat is trying to put the three main categories in these three groups, and the rest is put together in others. Okay, then we have the sex. So let's try to check just the total. Okay, for the moment you have also unknown, and then you have the time. Okay, here the statistics is more fresh. Let's go 2021, and then the frequency, there is nothing to choose. Okay, save and go. Okay, you see there was a shortcut here. I also learned something. I don't need every time to open the options. Okay, so we have the reasons. You see, it's only total showing here. We can drag it to the column and we will have all 5 reasons. So in Belgium, in Italy, they were 274,000 first permits issued in 2021, and out of which 120 was for family reasons. So you see, the biggest and most important channel to Italy is the family unification. Okay, education, the students in your classroom, foreigners, are in this statistics 17,807, and employment is only 50,000, which is, I think, Alessandra, you can confirm, approximately is the this famous number that is per year allowed by Italian ministry to have a work permit, no?
Yes, but the family is not in this number. Usually we know also how many
Yes.
labor
Yeah,
permit.
but employment, let's say for employment reason, is the approximately 50,000, which is the
Yes,
number of
exactly.
this flucy, the famous that is
Yes,
always talked about. Yes, so and others is 85,000. Okay, you see that both in Italy and in Belgium, approximately half of all permits are for family unification reason. And there is a reason for that, because the the the, um, the family unification is a right you cannot reject. If I want to join my spouse, my husband, my wife, I have the right to do it. Well, employment is not a right for a foreigner who resides outside. So often the case, people are also kind of pushed towards the marriage channel to be able to enter the country.
So may I ask you
Yes,
something? We have sometimes the statistic when we spoke about reason of entry, free movers. So you see the European citizens that move freely
they
between
are not
countries.
here. These
They're
are
not
only,
here because these are only extra-European migrants.
yes, yes, Ukrainians in this particular case. These are,
Yes, you
one
are
second.
Ukrainian and Morocco, they are
No,
only,
this is total. In this case, it's total, but we can also bring it, for example, here, and we can see the total, the Ukrainian and Moroccan. And you will see that among the Moroccan migrants, the family unifiers are even bigger reason, even bigger part. 4,000 out of 6 are for family reasons. Well, in case Ukrainian, you will see that, I mean, a more even picture. Yeah.
yes. No, because
Okay.
in the table that we found on the web that I also showed to the student, this others is very large and very big. So, and sometimes I don't know if they are free movers, so the mobility of
No, no.
European citizen
These
or,
are asylum seekers, for example, victims of trafficking, can be everything that doesn't belong to family, education, and employment, are grouped there. The other differs in terms of its composition very much from one country to another. You have even statistics on that other. Those interested can go and check what is that other. I will
Yes,
show you
exactly.
now on the website. I think it's somewhere. You see that there is a special place for students and researchers, but there was somewhere also for others. Maybe it was here because there was a more second. Other reasons. You see, there is a special
Yes.
data set, first permit used for other reasons, by reason. And if you go there, you will see that these other reasons, now we will check together if it opens, just to show you that other is a complex thing. That's why always I suggest to students to read the explanatory text. And the other reasons are actually even 8 here. Let's see which are those. So there are international protection, okay?
So refugee,
Yeah, the one includes the
humanitarian.
classic Geneva Convention, the other who are refugees but not in classic terms of Geneva Convention. Then they have those who have humanitarian status, then some type of residence, perhaps I am among them. Then we have unaccompanied minors, that is a special category, okay, that they come by boat, etc., and they don't have parents, so they have a different treatment because, as you know, they are supposed to be also a tutor, somebody who follows them. The victims of trafficking and not specified, okay. But also I remember if you look at Italian cases, they are very different and they don't really fit to this labor, students and family unification. That's why they are all in put together in this category. Okay, so maybe one of the interesting things also to explore. Okay, so we did also that one. Let me see. Okay, so I think that you saw also what is other and how to get the first residence permit. I mean, I think it went away, unfortunately. Okay. First residence permit here. No, we were. Yeah. So just to repeat, and important thing is that you see, if we would have a bookmark, we would immediately come back, but I didn't save and we have to repeat. If to do, we have to repeat. So important to remember, you just go to one of these crosses, you choose the countries of destination, you choose the country of citizenship. In our case, it was Ukraine and Morocco. Then you choose the reason, all the reasons. Then you have choose maybe you have a gender focus in your study, you choose the gender female and male, you choose the time period, you can have long time series also, etc., etc., and then you save. Okay, save and also have a bookmark. Let's do the last one, the almost last one. So in the remaining time, I know that much of our attention is attracted to two things. For example, I just wanted to show you that we have also, we are paying much attention on irregular migration or asylum seekers and refugees. They are always on TV. This topic is a subject of huge debate. But as you see, majority, this is something to keep in mind. While on TV, we always speak about these few desperate people reaching European shores with their boats or asylum seekers, the majority of people are joining invisibly through family unification. So this is something just to highlight how much things can be politicized. Nobody is speaking about family migration, for example, but people all the time on any channel are speaking about few people or few hundred, or even if it is 100,000 in all Europe, they came by boat. They are really minor part. So I would like to show you just here the temporary protection, which might be interesting for you because this temporary protection directive was activated due to was there for already more than 10 years because it was created during the Balkan War, but it has never been activated. Now it is activated for Ukrainian conflict, the war, the devastating war in Ukraine, and you can find all type of statistics on that here. Those who are interested to, for example, to write about Poland or maybe Hungary or the German response to Ukrainian crisis, or maybe to Slovakia. Who else is there? Somehow maybe Balkan countries. Also, you can find all the statistics here. Okay, you can also see about the temporary protection given to unaccompanied minors, because often the case the parents remained back there, couldn't leave the country, but with their relative they sent the kids. So, but let's do the final exercise, almost final one, the first asylum application by citizenship in Italy and Spain. And here we have to go to asylum application. And here is the data set, asylum applicants by citizenship age and sex. You can also, this is annual data, you can also have a monthly statistics. Okay, we are interested in this one. You can see that there are other type of information is available, like asylum application withdrawal or the decisions made on asylum application. Okay, let's go to the to stick to what we were supposed to do. Let me close this. So asylum applications, you see that here there are decisions and Dublin statistics. The lawyers might be interested in Dublin statistics, looking at Dublin. Dublin is a regulation that defines the distribution of refugees across countries. Okay. Last effort, let's do it together. Those who are tired, I encourage that it won't last much, because we already almost know how to do it. We learned. So we open the data set. The geopolitical entity, as usual, we start from the country. We are interested in, we uncheck all. We go to Italy. Italy and Spain. Okay. Then we choose citizenship, or we can again check Ukraine and I don't know, which is Afghanistan, for example, no, which is another country. Afghanistan, we can also check Syrians. Syria, potentially, no, but we know also a lot of people are coming from Tunisia with the often most of the cases rejected, but by sex, let's take the total for the moment. Time, let's check the 2022 unit of measure. Okay, save. Again, here you can read all the details about this data and to add it to your data set. You see that it doesn't allow me to do it. It says you must sign in. If I had an account, or I have one, but I'm not supposed to use my professional account here. So wait a second, save and go to view. It is complaining about something. Let me see. There is no data available in this section. Let me see. Geopolitical time frequency. Maybe time is not 22 is not available. Yeah, maybe for some countries only. Maybe some countries already reported 2022, but not Italy and Spain. That's why it complains. Okay. We have to choose also here the applicant time. First time applicant, let's say, subsequent applicant, because you can apply the second time. This is the first time application, because you can also appeal your the rejection decision and apply again. Okay, we are interested only now in people who came to European Union and asked for asylum. How come here we have 5? Always read what you have here. We were supposed to choose 2 countries. For some reason we have 2, most probably because we have total, or okay, we can uncheck all, and we have Ukraine. No, we had many. Ukraine, then we have Syria. Sorry, yes. Okay, sorry. Yeah, correct. Okay, so let's bring the country of citizenship. We just pull it and drag it to column. Okay, we have from all extra EU countries, we had 62,000 to Spain and 45,000 in Italy, out of which from Ukraine they were 800, from to Spain, and 500 something to Italy. The majority comes from Tunisia. As you remember, I thought Tunisia is not in war, but there are a lot of asylum applications coming from there. Afghanistan, and some from Syria. Okay, so you can, you can play in the way you want. You can also make a map. I discourage you to do it because the map is not good, but you can have some figures here. Okay, most probably here it is the Spain and Italy, and you have all the non-EU asylum applicants in 2021. You can also check here, you can select only Tunisia, and again, there is a legend of the map. Not well done map. So I don't suggest you using it, but because this feature exists here, you can use it. Also, there is a way to do bars, but I don't suggest you do in Excel. So this is actually mostly it. One more thing I would tell you, but as usual, we download, we save it in our data sets, we keep the link, we copy the link and save it somewhere, okay? And always write what you send, because it is supposed to do it with also title, but I found it a bit confusing the other time when it was doing it. No, because you see, it somehow saves it as if it's all together text, which is not fine. No, a me non piace. I don't like it. So just save, write the text and do the separate link. So link is the best. Yeah, other than that, I would like to tell you, if you feel very confused, you don't know what you have done, you are mixed, which countries you have selected, the sex, origin, destination, you don't know where you are. There is always way to return to the very default setting by putting, look, I just push it here and you have the default. It will give you the very beginning, it should at least. Yeah, you came back from the where you have selected, okay, before moving this to columns and rows, okay. I would like also in the last 5 minutes, Alessandra, just to show them the final thing, that just what all else exists on the Eurostat database, so they have some kind of a summary of what kind of information that can have. You remember we had in immigration, the immigration and immigration data. We have acquisition and loss of citizenship, which is an interesting thing to look at. For example, you can see the number and origin of people from different countries who acquired citizenship in the country that you study. You have information on temporary protection provided. You have applications for asylum. You have the decisions made. For example, there are asylum seekers also from Armenia. 97% of them get rejection. So it's an interesting thing. So people come despite the fact that they will be with high certainty rejected, they come and get rejected. Why? Because they are misinformed in countries of origin on the situation and procedures in destination. Then for lawyers, I would suggest, if we have lawyers in the group, to look at the decisions on application and resettlement, on the Dublin statistics. And then in terms of managed migration, we look at the number of residence permits and given, but also enforcement on migration legislation. For example, number of orders to leave given to migrants. They identify they don't have any legal reason to stay in Europe, and they are given an order to leave. And you have statistics on that, but you also have statistics on the number of effectively returned. Then you have here at the very end information on cross-cutting topics, as you see. And here you have information about migrants integration and two sections, one on children. This might be interesting for lawyers or sociologists also. And also, for example, they have asylum statistics run and unaccompanied migrants, enforcement of immigration legislation on children, the residence permits provided to children, or those who are studying some education aspects of migration, and migrant integration that covers quite a lot of statistics, like those who want to study migration in terms of their settlement in urban area, their social inclusion, health status, education, regional statistics on education, like provinces or regions, and then on employment, unemployment, active citizenship, like, for example, whether they are, I think, long-term residents they are given, so the permanent status given in the continent, and recent migrant labor force survey, because as I told you last time, the duration of your stay affects the way you integrate in the labor market. Okay, the longer you stay, the more likely you are integrated. Alessandra, do you want me to give another example, or that's it? They are exhausted.
I imagine they're exhausted, but I
Yeah.
think that integration is very important. Could
I
you
wanted to
just...
give one example just to open and explain, and then they can explore by themselves.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Because, for
This is
example, we can look at employment. Or in the unemployment, for example. No, we always say migrants are unemployed, overrepresented. So let's go to unemployment rate by citizenship, and this example is in the slides too, so they can connect later to it. So we opened it. Always remember how your data set was called by this small acronym, this small name, LFS, Labor Force Status for Survey. This is unemployment, okay? Here it's important. So then maybe we choose just exactly the same procedure we have done. We just choose the entity. Let's check only like Italy, we will check, and Sweden, because these are very contrasting cases, and also we can see that it's always it's very different system of also integration approaches of migrants. Then we choose only total, and then we choose one point in time here, 2020, and let's see in terms of citizenship we have for example not total, but let's say EU except EU countries except non-EU countries, okay, and natives, okay, just for comparison.
Yes.
So I bring citizenship here. you just drag it. Okay, so you have that among non-EU countries, in Italy, the unemployment rate is higher than among the Italians, but it is uncomparably higher. The gap between foreigners and natives is uncomparably higher in Sweden. Okay. Alessandra, do you want to comment this maybe?
Yes, yes, it's very small, but the number, but no, what you see, okay, what you see immediately is the unemployment rate of the native is 9%, while the one of foreigner is 14%. Is this what the table is saying?
Yes, but let's say if it is, okay, it is higher in Italy among non-migrants than compared to native ones, but despite the fact that in Sweden the unemployment rate is lower than in Italy, you have migrants, one third of migrants unemployed in Sweden, despite the fact that we have very kind of accommodating integration process in Sweden, but it seems that the harsh reality of Italian labor market and kind of not available maybe social benefits in Italy push many
The
migrants
welfare
to the
state and employment
yeah,
benefit in Sweden is very high. And also they have a lot of asylum seeker,
yes,
while Italy, among the European countries, the one with the lowest number of asylum seeker. Sweden is one of the highest one in comparison to the population, not in absolute number, because Sweden is a small country in comparison to Italy. This 31% is a little bit surprising. I would imagine 20, but not 31%. I will try another year also
yeah.
because
We
probably
can just for example take another
2020
year.
because there
So
could
we have
be all the
also
Ukrainian they are in
pre-pandemic.
Sweden.
Like let's check also what happened before pandemic. No, in comparison, 2019, and it's elaborating.
No, because I imagine that this large number is also due to the
Yeah, I mean, it was 26, but also among native ones, it was 5.4. No, it is tremendously higher among non-EU born people.
non-EU country. 31, you have, right.
Yeah,
And
it is now
yes,
31 compared to 7% among natives, but it used to be before pandemic 26 compared to 5.4 in among natives.
yes,
So it's still very high. You see, yeah, there was an increase a bit both among natives and Italians,
yes. But you
but the
remember,
pattern
so,
is there. Pattern is
but you
constant.
Do you remember, Sona, at the CHESP conference in Brussels? Well, the Swedish minister, she was saying that now they try to transit asylum seeker after a few months of training in the language immediately in the labor market.
Yes.
And I asked her, but do you think that this will create a segregated labor market because they don't know the language? And was, but Sweden, the women work. So I think there is Sweden, a large culture debate.
Yes.
Swedish women labor force participation rate 89%. So more or less all the women work.
Yes. Yes.
While in
I
a
agree.
culture where women are not educated and not used to work, and so we have and they have very high unemployment benefits, so they can live on the subsidy that the state provide to them. But this creates what we call a more separate society, a society which
Yeah.
is living a certain way and a society which is living another way. So all the effort are exactly in acculturation, so making them knowledge used to the model of the country destination to avoid this type of segmentation.
Yes, yeah. Many dimensions to explore, and the data set on Eurostat is really rich. In the fourth part of the presentation, there are other data sources available, especially about where you can check for policies. Just a second, Alessandra, I promise I am done. Actually, you can go to MyPEX to understand the differences in policy approaches, because here we were speaking about the outcome of integration, for example, in the countries, but also the policies can be studied through MyPEX website, where they cover many countries, many areas, and many indicators provided. So you can put it in you have to put your analysis in the policy context of the country. And I suggest you go and study it. But I hope that during this session, you were able to stop sharing. You were able also to grasp the way to find the data. There is wealth of information. You know, I hope by now already how to custom that data set or the set of information to the one that you want, how to download it, and how to save it for future use. Okay. Last very thing, you can also through contact button write a message to Eurostat, and they are very efficient in answering to you. But please don't overload the colleagues with small questions, because if you can resolve it, if you don't understand how to download, don't ask for that. If you see some strange features in the data, then you can ask to them, not because you do not manage to download or save or adjust. This is not the type of information you should come to them with. Okay, so but if you see some anomalies, or you think that this data is very much different from what you get otherwise in calculations, yeah, you can go to them. Or methodologically you don't understand how this data is calculated, perhaps yes, but not with the management of the data. So there is also that.
Sora, you uploaded very rapidly the last section, but here I have a lot of political scientists and lawyers. So
Okay.
I'd like just to know something more on the MIPEX.
Okay. Yeah, I will share
The
now.
MIPEX is interesting for them because they are all the legislation, all the
Yes,
government.
yes. You go to the website of MyPEX, and there you have wealth of information, both by policy areas, and then there are indicators and the way countries ranked and also evolved over time. I think that this is also important, where you have to start all your exercise from.
So the MIPEX is not speaking of integration, it's speaking of the policy of integration, the institution, the governance. So the lawyer that study the legislation, and here they have how the legislation are working.
Yeah. So I suggest you check it. And for most of the slides, I have also a voice or video commentary on that, so you can follow later and check it by yourself. Okay, I will pass all the presentations to Alessandra, updated one, because Eurostat updated its interface, so I had to do it too. Okay.
Yes, because of course, we look at the data, but the data, so how the phenomena is going, but of course, the phenomena is affected by the legislation. And when we move to integration, the legislation are the big part of the story. And so that is very important to understand different results between countries, different type of implementation, different type of policy, different unemployment benefits, different system, different place in office information, different training. And this data set is very used by political scientists exactly because they study how things can be implemented. Sona, I thank you on behalf of my student very much for the effort. I upload the recorded lecture, the slide that you will send me with the which are also have a section recorded. I will put this both on the web of the course, but also there is another course on policy evaluation, and they decide to do migration, and so they have to collect data, and so the best day to follow your instruction. There is no other solution better than this, to use official data, which are the only one in which there's been a lot of work on the selection, quality, definition, and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.